26, first I'll give you this just so that you understand the supernatural and the natural. In Genesis 1:26, God says, let us make man in our image. Make means to construct something out of something else. What did God construct man out of? The dust. So in 126, he made man. But then it says in 127, then God created man. Created means to make something out of nothing. So he first made man constructed out of dust, and then he created man. This speaks about the natural aspect of man and the supernatural aspect of man. When God breathed in Hebrew the ruach, the breath of God, that is when he became a living being. We have to figure out what our definition of living is, but I don't have time to talk about that because I'm talking about the kingdom right now. So if you think about Neanderthal or Cro-Magnon and you ask me if they exist, I sure tell you, absolutely they existed. There are pictures of them, there are bones of them, but we do know that all of a sudden there was Homo sapien, that once he came on the ground, everything changed. So I'm sure that there was a construction of things that looked like man, because Adam means man, but it was only the one that God breathed his spirit inside of that looked like God and acted like God. Nonetheless, that's not what we're talking about. So Genesis 1:27, God created man, and he said, let's make man in our image. You notice he said our, because there were more than one. Let's make man in our image. So the first thing that we have to understand here is you are made in the image of God. Sounds very simple, but I want you to consider that when you think about the way that you function, when you think about the way that you think, when you think about the way that you operate. If you operate as a natural person, you are only acting like yourself. You're not quite acting like God yet. Now, don't get me wrong. God made you to be a fleshly human being so that you can enjoy the human experience. It's a beautiful thing. So we do not negate our humanness. No, we embrace our humanness. We just understand that we're spirits with bodies. And listen, write this down if you're writing. We do not allow natural bodies, mortal bodies, to make eternal decisions. Do not allow a mortal body to make an eternal decision. I've said this before. It should have been Abraham, Isaac, and Esau. But Esau gave his birthright away for a cup of lentil soup because he was hungry. His body was hungry. So then it had to be Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He allowed a mortal body to make a major, major lifelong decision. So it's important that we live as human beings, but it's more important that we are led by the Spirit. So you are in the image of God. You are in the image of God. Come on, say that until you believe. I am in the image of God. All right. That's it. So I think like God thinks. I speak like God speaks. I see like God sees. Now think about that. If you see things like God sees things, and someone has erratic, unscrupulous behavior, well, it's very easy to be angry with the person and to box them away. But if you see like God sees, you're able to embrace them, because we reject people when we do not have the capacity to receive them. But when you have the capacity of God, you can let people be where they are, help them identify opportunities, and then you can embrace them where they are. See, this is what happens when we see things like God sees. So we are made in the image of God. Now, Adam and Eve were made in the image of God. And because they were made in the image of God, God gave them the trees. He didn't give them the stage. He gave them the trees. He did not give them the tables. Because we're in God's image, we like to make things. Because we're in the image of God. He could have gave them tables and houses and all of these things. But no, he gave them minerals. He gave them magnesium. He gave them titanium. And he said, hey, all of it's yours. Do what you will with it. You're made in my image. You can't help but to create.